So a while ago I put together a video explaining Syndicates, which was long and didn't have chapters, and people let me know about this, so today I thought I'd go ahead and make a new video which hopefully will explain things a bit more clearly. So let's start out with the basics. Syndicates are divided into two main groups, faction and neutral. Faction syndicates comprise the 6 main syndicate groups that you can gain access to after reaching Mastery Rank 3. Neutral syndicates basically include all other groups with which you can gain standing, including the Ostron, Quills, Solaris United, etc, etc. Neutral syndicate standing can be obtained usually by completing bounty missions or by trading in materials like fish or gems. As neutral syndicates have no interactions with each other in terms of standing, we're going to leave them to one side for this video and just focus on the faction syndicates. There are currently 6 faction syndicates in Warframe. There have been no new faction syndicates introduced to Warframe since their inception back in the game in 2014. The 6 syndicate factions are Steel Meridian, Arbiters of Hexis, Cephalon Suda, the Perrin Sequence, Red Veil, and New Loka. Each one has their own set of rewards, which comprise a set of sigils, which are purely aesthetic, a Spectre blueprint, which can be used to help you in battle, a relic pack, arc weapon parts, a restore gear blueprint, a number of weapon augment mods, many Warframe ability augment mods, a sculpture for your orbiter, 3 syndicate variant weapons including 1 primary, 1 secondary and 1 melee, a number of Captura scenes, a stencil for your personal quarters, an Exilus weapon adapter blueprint, a few emotes, a Syandana and an armor set. Of all of these rewards, the only ones which will remain the same across all 6 syndicates are the relic pack and the Exilus weapon adapter. That being said, you will find that certain rewards may appear in another syndicate's reward pool, just not all of them. As such, the dilemma you will face when gathering these various items up is that not all syndicates get along with one another, which means that should you wish to acquire the rewards from one faction syndicate, you will lock yourself out of acquiring the rewards of another faction. When I say lock yourself out, I should clarify here that it is still possible to gain their rewards, it will just take you a while to make them like you again. Alternatively, of course, you can acquire the majority of these rewards through the in-game trade system, with the exception, I believe, of the emotes, spectres, restores, sculptures, stencils, and sigils. In order to gain standing with a faction syndicate, you will need to pledge to them. You can do this by accessing the syndicate menu from your orbiter and hitting the change pledge button at the bottom of the screen. In this menu, you will be able to see which syndicates do and don't like each other, and also which syndicates are indifferent to one another. Now, it's important to note at this stage what will happen when you choose to pledge to a syndicate. Once you've pledged, a percentage of the affinity, that's Warframe's XP equivalent, which you get for killing enemies and completing objectives, will go towards your pledged syndicate's standing. Now, what that doesn't mean is that you will lose out on affinity to your weapons by pledging, rather a percentage of the affinity you gain will simply be mirrored onto your syndicate standing. Alongside gaining standing on your pledged syndicate, you will also gain or lose standing with other syndicates. You will know which syndicates will be affected by hovering over your chosen syndicate on the pledge screen. For example here, when I'm pledged to Red Veil, 100% of the mirrored affinity I get will go towards Red Veil, and an additional 50% will be gained with Steel Meridian. Cephalon Suda, however, will lose 50%, whilst Arbiters of Hexis will lose 100% standing. So let's say I gain 1000 standing with Red Veil in a mission, I would also gain 500 with Steel Meridian and lose 500 and 1000 with Cephalon Suda and Arbiters of Hexis respectively. What's important to note here is that Red Veil is indifferent to both New Loka and the Perrin Sequence, meaning that by pledging to Red Veil, we will neither lose nor gain standing with them. Now, understanding this, you can start to see how to keep at least 3 syndicate factions at max rank. For example, I know that by pledging to New Loka, I can gain standing with the Perrin Sequence whilst not losing any standing with Red Veil. So I've essentially found a way to max out 2 syndicates whilst keeping a third, Red Veil, at 0. Once I've maxed out New Loka and Perrin Sequence, I can then change my pledge to Red Veil and max them out, thereby giving me access to a third syndicate's rewards. We can, however, take this one step further and get 4 syndicates maxed out, thereby giving us access to a much larger pool of rewards without the need for trading. This takes a bit of patience but can be very lucrative when a new prime frame drops, for example, and you can get a total of 24 relic packs in an instant. So let's look at how this might work. Let's go back to our pledge with New Loka. We can max out both New Loka and Perrin Sequence by staying pledged to New Loka whilst keeping Red Veil neutral. We can then switch our pledge to Red Veil and maintain our standing with New Loka and Parent Sequence, since they remain neutral to Red Veil, whilst also gaining 50% standing with Steel Meridian. Now obviously this is going to take a while, as once you've maxed out New Loka, who lose 50% standing with Steel Meridian, your Steel Meridian standing will likely be rock bottom. However, by sticking with Red Veil, you can drag it all the way back and max it out, thereby having New Loka, Parent Sequence, Red Veil and Steel Meridian all at rank 5. A long-winded process, but can come in clutch when early farming prime parts on a new release. So now we come to the point where we look at farming standing for Syndicates. As we said previously, the amount of standing you gain directly correlates to the amount of affinity you gain. Ergo, the faster you can gain affinity, the faster you gain standing. As such, affinity boosters, blessings and Smeeta charms can have a significant impact on your standing gain. Now standing is capped each day at a value determined by your mastery rank plus a standard base amount. The base amount is 16,000, which then increases by 500 for each new mastery rank you unlock. So a player at rank 3 would have a daily standing cap of 17,500. If you play Warframe for any decent length of time each day, you can usually hit this cap fairly easily without even trying. However, for those who have less time, like myself, you may want to actively farm it up, which can usually be done in a few minutes. My preferred choice for farming affinity, and subsequently standing, is Adaro on Sedna, and I will leave a link down in the comments below as to how I do this. You can also do game modes like Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, which can also provide you with a great deal of affinity. On top of the daily standing cap, you can also do 3 missions for each syndicate each day to provide you with some additional standing. Within these missions, you can gather up syndicate medallions, which can be traded in at any relay for even more standing. The standing gain for these missions and medallions works the same way, so if you did a mission for Red Veil, which granted 3,000 standing, 3,000 would go to Red Veil, 1,500 would go to Steel Meridian, and so on and so on. So finally, is there any benefit in choosing to gain standing with specific syndicates? Of course there is. All syndicates have something to offer, and it really depends on what you are interested in that will determine which syndicates you choose to pledge to. If you're unsure about who to pledge to, there are a few things you can consider. First of all, do you have your sights set on a particular Warframe? If so, see which syndicates hold their relevant augment mods in their rewards. Do you like particular weapon types? Perhaps you like Tomfa style weapons, in which case Arbiters of Hexis can offer you the Telos Boltace. There are a few special exceptions which provide you with a little extra. For example, the Secure Elector, sold by the Parent Sequence, grants additional credits on kills, which, if you saw my video last week, can be used to great effect when combined with gas or heat damage. I find myself drawn to factions which offer certain augment mods, including those for Korra and Necros, which early on can improve the ease of gaining resources. For me, the following I find particularly useful. So the Secure Elector in the Parent Sequence, Pilfering Strangledome in Red Veil and Steel Meridian, Shock Trooper in Red Veil and Arbiters of Hexis, as I like to play Vault in Eidolon hunts, Despoil in Parent Sequence and Red Veil, and Shield of Shadows in Parent Sequence and Red Veil. The conclusion to all of this is that there is no single syndicate that outshines the others, and each has their own pros and cons. My advice to you is to have a look through each's rewards and decide for yourself which will provide you with the most enjoyment as you progress through the game. Remember, you can always change whenever you want, you will just have to farm back up the standing needed to max out whatever syndicate you decide to change to. Hopefully this video has proved to be a bit clearer than my last. However, if you guys have any questions, then do feel free to leave those down in the comments, and as always I will do my best to respond. Otherwise, if you did enjoy the video, then please leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one, guys.